Hey Run Junkies, welcome back to the Journey to Triathlon series, where today we are taking a closer look at the bike training plan and how to decode some of that terminology. Now please understand, the cycling portion of triathlon can be the most data-driven, the most data-intensive, where you can really analyze your fitness and your efficiency on the bike. You can spend a ton of money on cadence meters, power meters, bike computers that measure all of that, and all of the bells and whistles that can go with cycling, but I am not going to dive that deep. This video is for the novice triathlete, and I want you to enjoy the bike portion and don't get bogged down in all of the data and analytics. These are just basic terms and ideas, maybe a little bit more of the gear that you would use. And as a novice, I would recommend that if you have access to a heart rate monitor, that will help you. You can also find an inexpensive cadence meter and I will leave links to those in the description below. Those cadence meters will give you the basics of the revolutions per minute. That means how many times your feet are going around in a circle, and possibly miles and kilometers per hour. Obviously, the more data you have, the better you can track your progress, but just start with the basics. So as I've said, the bike portion of a training plan calls for 2 to 3 sessions per week, 45 minutes to an hour and a half, maybe up to 2 hours for a long ride, and the occasional bike run brick as a part of that. So you start off on the bike and then you finish out on the run. You go out for the run right away. The workouts themselves can vary in length and intensity, and each of the workouts has a different objective. For the most part, your workouts will fall in the zone 1 and zone 2 range, the low heart rate zones. Or if you are using a rate of perceived exertion scale, you would think about that in the 5 to 7 out of 10. Ideally, you are riding outside on roads or paved trail, on hills and flat roads. But for the purposes of this video, I am gonna be riding on my bike trainer. This is a device that allows me to turn my road bike into an indoor stationary bike. Before I get into the workout specifics, I wanna walk you around the bike itself. This is a time trial bike designed specifically for triathlon or other cycling events in which the rider is riding in single file with no riders around them. It has a bit more streamlined design with aero bars. Now these aero bars allow the rider to shrink down even more into a streamlined position. Do you need those aero bars as a first timer? No, you absolutely do not. This is just the bike I use, and I want you to understand why it looks the way it does as opposed to what you might be using for your first time triathlon. The biggest challenge to the aero position is that unlike a standard road bike, you have to change position to slow down. The shifters are on the aero bars while the brakes are outside on the wing. A bike like this is designed to go very fast in a straight line. That's what it's really good at, not much else. Another feature about my bike specifically is the clip-in pedals. These require a special cleat on the cycling shoe that clips in. And as I mentioned in this video right here, these are optional for first timers. You don't need to go out and buy all of this stuff. If you have access to it, great. If not, don't worry about going out and spending a lot of money for your first triathlon. Other terms you may likely encounter as you are looking at your training plan include RPMs, or revolutions per minute. That is the number of times in a single minute that your foot makes a complete circle on one side. Now the focus should be on smooth pedaling. So as you're pushing down with one foot, you're pulling up with the other. So it makes a smooth pedal motion. This is really only possible if you are using those clip pedals. A lot of cyclists and triathletes will shoot for 90 revolutions per minute on flat road. You might also see in your training plan something called single leg pedaling. That's when you take one foot completely off the pedal and you cycle and you move just one foot and pedal that through. Now this can only be safely done really if you have those clip-in pedals. If you don't have them, skip this kind of section of a workout. It's usually only a few minutes out of a workout, and it's kind of like a drill or a skill development. So if you don't have clip-in pedals, skip it entirely. Don't worry about it. Now the purpose of single leg pedaling is to develop both legs in equal strength. So one leg isn't doing all the work while the other one gets kind of lazy. Single leg pedaling is challenging, and you will learn very quickly which one is your dominant leg. It's an equal upstroke and downstroke just to keep that one leg pedaling. Now, before I get on the bike, I might do some dynamic stretches or warm-ups, but for the most part, the training plan that I have that I'm following right now includes a 10 to 20 minute warm-up and some skills and drills, and then a 5 to 10 minute cool down at the end of the workout. That's all included in the time that is prescribed in the training plan. After you get off the bike, after your workout, it's best to stretch out your quads and your glutes a little bit, because you've been kind of hunched over in this kind of crunch down position. You want to stretch everything back out and lengthen everything again. Let's take a look at a few of the workouts out of the training plan and break down those workouts based on what we know now. Week 1, there is an easy bike. In the first 5 minutes, we are concentrating on low effort, staying in heart rate zone 1, or rate of perceived exertion of about 6 out of 10. Now we're at 90 revolutions per minute here, and we are turning over our legs quickly at a low resistance. Step 2, we drop down to 80 RPMs, but we're still staying in that zone 1, meaning we might gear up and slow down the rotations. That is basically the warm-up. The main set then is back to 90 RPMs for 45 minutes in zone 1. Settle in if you are on the trainer, catch up on some YouTube videos, or plop in some Netflix, because you're gonna be sitting here not doing a whole lot for a while. Or if you're outside, enjoy the scenery. Now, this is the equivalent of an easy 3-mile run. You're just turning over your legs as steadily as you can for 45 minutes. Cool down by gearing down and slowing your roll a little bit. Make it nice and easy for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then stretch afterwards. Many times the bike run brick workout will start out with a bike very similar to this. Okay, in week 2, we have a steady bike workout. After a warm-up of about 5 minutes at 95 RPMs, we will alternate single leg pedaling. This is the kind of workout I would suggest you do on a trainer or a spin bike before you attempt it outside. If you have clip-in pedals, unclipping and clipping back in while you are in motion is a skill in and of itself. If you're not comfortable with doing that yet, practice it on the trainer first. It's also hard to find a place to put that non-working leg. Again, if you don't have access to an indoor bike or spin bike, don't worry about it. Skip this kind of workout. It really is drills and skill development, but it's not crucial to your bike. Another thing about single leg work is that you will have to gear down for this to go for 30 seconds at 90 RPMs. You're doing this for 3 minutes of single leg work on 30 seconds per side before you go into the main set. Now your main set is 3 sets of the following: 8 minutes in zone 2, 75 RPMs, and then a 2-minute recovery in zone 1 at 85 RPM. This sort of simulates steady hill climbing, and then you finish off with an easy spin and a cool down. The last workout I want to show you today is the bike test. You will do this periodically throughout your training to determine your progress on the bike. Preferably you will do this workout outdoors in the same location as you had done previously, and this is to determine how you have progressed through your training plan. You spend 5 minutes in each of the following: zone 1 at 85 RPM, zone 2 at 90 RPM, zone 3 at 95 RPM, then back to zone 1 for 5 minutes. You will then do a 16K time trial at your best effort, or almost 10 miles. Now don't sprint through this. You want this to be steady. You want this to be a good enough burn that you will make it all the way through without feeling gassed. The idea is that you will stay as consistent as possible throughout this ride, something that you can sustain for the duration of the main set. Then you cool down and stretch. Make sure you're gathering your data, because that's how you're gonna see your progress. The last thing I wanna point out to you today is that yes, I do have my bike on the trainer. I did this whole video on the trainer today. But as much as possible, if you can get out on open road on varying terrain, hills and flats, the better off and the better prepared you are going to be on race day. When you're in a climate controlled situation such as this, just like the treadmill, you're not simulating outdoor conditions. You can get the cardio in, but you're not simulating those outdoor conditions that are going to be important on race day. It's great for inclement weather when it's just so cruddy outside that you can't get comfortable, but this is more the exception to the rule than the actual rule. It just won't help you navigate like the real thing. And specifically hill training. Cycling outdoors on hills is the only way you're gonna get real hill training in. Inside, you just can't simulate that. There are a variety of other bike workouts that I did not cover in this particular video. If you want more information, you can leave questions in the comment section down below if there's something specific you want to know the answer to. Again, I am not a cycling or triathlon coach. I will do the best I can to answer that question, but you might also ask an expert or some kind of triathlon coach. These are just a few to give you an idea of what to expect and how to determine what is in your triathlon training plan. In my opinion, the bike portion of triathlon is the most gear intensive, the most data intensive, and it can get very complicated. It doesn't have to be though. Just start with the basics and do the best you can with what you have. The bottom line is this: with a couple of workouts a week and maybe a bike run brick workout, you can get yourself to the bike portion of a triathlon on race day just fine. Just follow the training plan as it's written out, don't overdo it, and you can develop confidence and efficiency on the bike. My question for you today is this: what do you think of all of this low, easy effort on the bike? Does it make it easier to manage or more boring? Please leave thoughts, questions, comments, and suggestions in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. Until I see you next time, go find your awesome and happy running or cycling.